Jake.
I know that.
My uncle.
I'd like to call to order this January meeting of the RSU 25 School Board. We'd all join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, we have a new board member. Congratulations, Keith. This is the time where we need to swear you in before we get too far into the meeting.
Mr. Tripp will do
Mr.
the
Tripp.
honors. He is a notary public, so authorized.
Duly authorized.
All right.
What's that?
It's all that power vested.
Oh, and he's got stamps.
I got all kinds of stuff. I just had to find it. So just raise your right hand, repeat after me. So I, Keith Neal,
I, Keith Nealon,
do swear that I will faithfully discharge
do swear that I will faithfully discharge
to the best of my abilities, the duties incumbent on me,
this,
to the best of my
Okay.
abilities,
to the best of my abilities, the duties incumbent upon me
as a regional school unit board director of Regional School Unit 25,
as a regional school unit board director of Regional School Unit 25,
according to the Constitution of Maine and laws of this state.
according to the Constitution of Maine and the laws of this state,
So help me God.
so help me God. Speak up.
Almost official.
I know. Yes.
Congratulations, sir. It is now official.
So now we will have our roll call.
Yep. Mr. Foster,
I am here.
Mr. Burgess,
Here.
Abby Foster. James is Abby joining us. Right there. Button should be on. All right, I'll keep going, go back to her. Mr. Frazier,
Here.
Mr. Nealon,
Here.
Mr. Wentworth,
Here.
Mr. Cobb,
Here.
Ms. Rickman, absent, and Ms. Foster. She has her hand raised indicating she's here. Outstanding.
Ms. Foster, if you can hear us, you should have a prompt to allow your camera.
So you're observing her, Mr. Moore?
I am. Until we have her on board, I will.
Okay.
All right, why don't we
Consider her
move along?
in
and let-
attendance, sir.
Let the tech geniuses take care of the rest. All right. Okay, this is the time for public participation. And we have some members of the public who would like to speak. It's time.
I think their last names are all Neal.
All right. Great, then we will move on to adjustments to the agenda.
I have one, I'd like to add Casey Pelletier as a nomination for BMS Assistant Wrestling. That's all I have.
I like Casey, we wrestled together.
Hey, you see Ms. Foster now?
There we go.
Hey guys, can you hear me now too?
Yes.
I was promoted by Jim.
Next, we have approval of minutes. Look for a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes of December 19th, 2022 as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Excuse me, because we have a person on remote. We have to do roll call votes, all roll call votes. So,
Well, then I guess we will do a roll call vote.
Mr. Foster,
I approve the minutes.
Mr. Burgess,
Yes, I approve.
Ms. Foster,
I approve.
thank you. Mr. Frazier,
I approve.
Mr. Nealon,
I approve.
Mr. Wentworth,
I approve.
and Mr. Cobb.
I approve.
It is 7-0 of those attending. Thank you very much.
Thank you for keeping me in mind.
It's a team, it's a team.
We have communications and correspondence.
Yes, I shared with you the annual letter from Drummond and Woodson, sharing with us their rates. As you can tell, they haven't gone down any to the lawyers, so that's a nice thing that they do. And occasionally we do get discounts when I cash in frequent flyer miles, so take advantage of that. I also have an update talking about Governor Mills' proposed budgets. Couple of things that I highlight out of that communication is that the proposal keeps the percent of educational funding at 55%. And I believe they put in an additional $101 million into that to meet that obligation. Funding of school meals, both breakfast and lunch, to maintain universal free meals was put into that budget. There is continued support for expansion of pre-K. That's about it for pre-K through 12 education. However, they did continue funding a free community college for up to 2 years for the graduating classes of 24 and 25. Which is, and I believe, John, a lot of our kids have taken advantage of that. Which is wonderful. And then the rest of it has to do with higher education. So that's good news in terms of that. Now, how that plays out for us, we'll find out when I get the 279. I do know that they took the ratios that they, student teacher ratios that during the pandemic, they moved it down to 16:1. That's going back up to 17:1, which would be a marginal impact. They're also accounting for teacher minimum salaries of $40,000, which has not been done in the past. It was still indexed at $33,000. And the other change is they recognize the cost of insurance. They were still using numbers from more than a decade ago, cost of health insurance. So you're going to see some monies moving around. We may lose a little in this category. We'll gain some in this. How that's all going to play out, I don't know until I see 279. I do know our overall community valuations are below the state average, which is typically a good sign. And our student numbers are slightly in the positive, which is also a good sign. So more information to come when we get to that 279. Some other communications around instructional days, rescheduling instructional days and waiver requests. What's really important to know here is that the idea of redoing remote snow days, it's still possible to do, but you have to provide lunch to every person in order for that to count as a day of school, which is going to be very challenging. So it might not be the primary role of what we're going to do with snow days. So you're aware of that. There's also an emphasis of 175 school days, which is wonderful. We do 175 school days. Some of the places that we make tuition students are private 60/40 academies. Sometimes don't always meet the 175 obligation. I bring that up because that's kind of the bone that I keep picking at, because it really frustrates me that you pay them for a full tuition of 175 days and they may not go that long. They assured me that that's okay because they have NEASC accreditation. Why that is, I don't know. We have NEASC accreditation. Doesn't matter. So I also have a nice article from Maine School Boards Association, just and ask a question, what I need to know about running for my local school board. I thought that eventually we can get something like this up on the website, so if people are interested in running for the school board, that's a handy resource for them to go. And I'm sure, Keith, you're the latest one to run for a board, so that might have been information that would have been nice to have as you, okay, I'm considering this, but I'm gonna get it myself in. And that's what I have for communications. Answer any questions relative to those.
Questions, Jim? Superintendent?
Yep, you have my written report. I am happy to address anything in specific. I did share the update from Mr. McGuire, our facilities director. I thought he did a nice job of capturing a lot of information, so I figured I'd just throw that right into you. I do want to point out, and we're going to talk about emergency planning later, but I want to point out the HCTC news. I'm very pleased to see that Bill Tracy was hired as the new director for HCTC. Bill was very familiar to us in RSU 25, and I think he's going to do a marvelous job. So I was very pleased.
You know when he would start that position?
He has a 45-day notice, so.
He posted online when his specific start date he did.
I think, I mean, if they, and I know his superintendent, if they can move him for quicker, they would. Yeah, but it's not always easy to fill a high school principal's job in the middle of the year.
No.
No, someone you want.
Now, that's why our people wouldn't leave, our high school principal would leave in the middle of the year.
Or even at the end of the year.
But we won't say anything else with me publicly. So. And I did share as far as the committees, and that's something you'll be discussing later on. So. Any other questions?
For the superintendent's report, we're about halfway through the year. For our finance committee, we're about halfway through a month. We have had a eventful year where all of our activities are up and running, been very successful. We have students to class. We only had one shutdown day all year. So it's really very positive going forward through this year. And so I just wanted to express that to all of you. We had a new board member who's here today. That you will be a very positive addition to our group. And we do have an election and we have a committee assignments. So we've got a busy night tonight. And I will let us all move on to the next thing, which is committee reports. Abby, do you have anything to say about curriculum?
Yeah, so we just met last Thursday. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So we reviewed our minutes from the previous meeting, which were very short anyway. We had a shorter meeting the meeting before last. Then a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about, I think probably is in the reports of these other people. So I'm going to keep it kind of brief, but Josh brought Audrey, who is our case manager type person for the Rev Grant Remote Pathways 7th through 12. That's the remote learning that the remote learning pathway we're doing with students. So that was really exciting. It's mostly high school students. There's a couple of junior highs, and there's a couple of part-time students in there as well. But Audrey went through and talked about how she's more of a case manager than a teacher, but she basically connects the kids to what they need, and how they're really connecting to her, and they're doing their independent work, but they kind of want that accountability and are online with her all day long, which is kind of cool. And they've created relationships with each other, which was pretty neat as well. And then Josh talked about the BHS internships, that we've always had internships, but they were not really organized before. So he's looking to make the experience more robust with feedback, check-ins, field work. And so we're working on that. And Jen gave us a very brief Aspire Golden Bucks update because the meetings are back to back, and she's probably going to update you tonight. So I don't really need to say too much there. And then we got to see a sneak peek of the very, very, very first draft 2023-24 school calendar that Christina gave us. It basically mimics this year's schedule. And the major difference is that previously seniors did not have to necessarily go 175 days, but now they may have to go the full 175 days. And they're looking at the winter break dates maybe a little bit different, but other than that, it's pretty much mimics this year's. And then Jim really gave us the district updates here, and our next meeting will be February 16th.
Any questions for Ed? Thank you, Ed. For the finance committee, as I already alluded to, we're about 50% the way through. And our line items are right in par with that. For the school lunch program, we are a bit in the hole. And after you put into the reimbursement, which we're due, we're about $17,000. On the senior food program, they're a little over 1,000 at the moment, but that doesn't take into effect the new price increase that they're going to have on the senior meals. So perhaps that will remedy itself shortly. Any questions on finance? Policy?
Policy committee did not meet.
All right. Facilities and grounds, we usually turn to Peter. Did you guys meet? Didn't, okay.
I do want to put in there kind of an update on the solar contract that we have. I did have an opportunity to connect the person who had been the project manager for Amoresco has taken a new job and moved on, and I was introduced to the person who was filling in for him. We had a nice conversation. Basically, they're ready to roll. They're just waiting for one final sign off from ISO New England. And they've been lumped in with a pool of other projects. And they're expecting that sign off to happen sometime in end of February, 1st of March. So they're excited to get moving. They've got the loads, they got everything they need. And so I asked them, because we have a 18-month window on the contract where the project isn't online at the end of 18 months. We do have an option to bow out. I would not recommend that. The rebates we're getting from that are at least 5% higher than any other project that's out there. And we kind of fall under an older model, we're right on the last cusp of that. So it's still online. It's just waiting for regulatory sign-offs. They've got all their permits and everything, so we're good to go. So we may not see anything that's going to benefit us directly for budget still FY25. It's there.
HCTC.
We meet day after tomorrow because of the schedule change, so I don't have anything to report.
Okay. No, I've seen their advertisement.
I know,
Nice.
those are cool, aren't they?
Old business, we had none. New business, we have some resignations and retirements.
We have no resignations and no retirements, which is wonderful.
Look at that.
It's been a long time.
Doesn't happen often, so we're gonna go with that.
So we're
And,
just hired.
So we're just hiring, which is good. And so under nominations, I have for support personnel, Josh George for custodian, and he's been assigned here at BHS. He is a BHS grad and a former student of Mr. Frazier's.
Well, no responsibility.
That experience obviously hurt this gentleman, so he's moving on. Also for coaching, Alita Schmidt, nomination for BHS varsity volleyball. She was our JV coach. She has previous varsity experience at a school to go unnamed at this point. She works for us as an occupational therapist. Also in coaching, and as I mentioned, our adjustment, Casey Pelletier, a BMS assistant wrestler, just went through an interview process. Very good candidate, very good young man, loves wrestling, and it'll be a wonderful asset to that program. Also, we have Rachel Hallett, who's volunteered to work with Unified Basketball, and Chris Connor, who's known to us, he's volunteered to work with VHS Robotics. That's what I have for nominations.
I move that we accept the nominations as a block.
Second?
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Oh, roll call.
I'll
Sorry,
eventually-
guys.
Mr. Foster,
I approve.
Mr. Burgess,
I approve.
Ms. Foster,
In favor.
thank you, Mr. Frazier,
I approve.
Mr. Nealon,
I approve.
Mr. Wentworth,
approve.
and Mr. Connor.
I approve.
That's 7-0. Thank you very much.
All right.
Unified coach.
Unified coach is Josh Jackson, I believe.
Oh, good. Good. New Sean is doing.
And if you've never gone to one of those games, you need to go. to
Great
one.
experience.
It is just, it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Next, we have election of board officers, chair and vice chair for February 2023 to January of 2024.
Well, I'd like to nominate Tom Foster as the chair. Do we want to do the second one?
I second it.
That one first? Okay,
Okay.
and I'd like to nominate, okay. Want to vote on that one
You can
first?
take a vote on that one. Is there any other candidates that would like to be nominated?
Candidates would like to do this. Okay. Seeing none.
Roll call.
We're going to do a roll call vote,
All right.
so I don't screw up this one.
Pressure's on you, Mr. Foster. Do you vote for yourself?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that wasn't an emphatic, but we'll take it as a yes. Mr. Burgess,
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Foster,
In favor.
thank you. Mr. Frazier,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Nealon,
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth,
In favor.
and Mr. Cough.
Yes.
Okay. 7-0.
Thank you all.
And so that is for chair.
For vice chair, and if he's willing, I'd like to nominate David Burgess as vice chair, and I would like to second.
They asked Mr. Burgess if he was.
Well, we'll see how he votes.
He
Maybe.
can oppose it later.
Let's hurry up with the vote.
Are there
Nobody took the flag, so.
any other nominations?
Nominations for vice chair. All right, seeing none, we will go to a roll call vote.
Mr.
You're getting better at this.
Yes, you are. You're picking up. We're almost on the agenda, but you got to
There you
roll.
go.
Mr. Foster,
I approve.
very good. Mr. Burgess,
I approve.
Ms. Foster,
In favor.
Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Nealon,
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth,
Yes.
and Mr. Cough.
Affirmative.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Certain point, you just gotta say something.
Yeah.
Next, we have review and assignment of board members to subcommittees. So we have 6 subcommittees. And in your packet, how those are currently assigned. So we do have some openings, but we cannot exceed 4,069 votes in a committee. That gives us a quorum. So, for instance, the current finance committee is kind of full up. But at the same time, the curriculum steering committee has an opening, and Keith had been our community representative. Would you like to continue
Yes,
on as?
very much so,
Okay, so that would be perfect. Are there any others, Keith, that you are interested in? We've got some openings in facilities as well. Do you have any interest in that? You don't have to. You don't have to take anything that you don't want. Just.
If I could fit into policy, I'd also like to, I don't know how the numbers work out on that, but
There's a vacancy.
So that would be fine.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Quick,
Yeah, that wouldn't put us over the top for the weighted votes.
no.
So Tom, I think that David Burgess is technically on our committee. I see it all the time and I've always wanted to ask about it. Should we just take that off? Is that just something on our end that's wrong? Or David, would you like to join us?
I don't think I've actually been officially on the committee, but I used to attend those meetings and therefore I was on the email list.
Okay,
I know that I was ever officially on there, but.
do you want to stay on there?
I would just assume get the emails, but I'm not officially on that group.
Okay, cool.
Are there any other people who'd like to change their committee assignment, do something different?
I would like to, I would talk to Jim a little bit about this, to join the curriculum steering committee.
There's room by vote, yes.
This room
Did
there?
you hear it's the most fun committee, Dan? Is that why?
That's the only reason.
That's the rumor. That's the rumor going around. I don't know.
I don't know, Dan brings a lot to the facilities committee, so.
I don't know, we have some pretty cheerful policy meetings.
You guys never meet?
That's the most cheerful.
I know.
All right, we do have vacancies in facilities. Technically, you only have 2 board members there, and only 1,800 votes, so you have room.
Just filling out for much.
So just to advertise it, when does facilities?
Facilities typically meet the Thursday before the board meeting, typically. And it's usually a 4 or 4:30 start. 4:30,
Because just before.
Right.
Another, is it policy?
curriculum.
If it's on a Thursday, I can fit facilities into my schedule.
I think it's right before Aspire and then which is right before curriculum, right?
But Kieran, if you're good on Thursdays, we're.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't meet there's a couple of months during the school year where we get a email like from Anthony or something. And sometimes things are running so smooth. I don't believe it.
Okay, yeah, that's it. No. That's good. These subcommittees are so important. You're involved in these are critically important. Thank you. And Mr. Claire did ask to be a community representative on the facilities committee. I had a conversation with Sue Lazar today, and she was she thought that was great. Because he brings, history. Which is nice.
A lot of knowledge and experience. in that.
Ms. Foster, we do need to round up some community representatives on the curriculum committee.
Okay,
I think that would be a great charge for your administrative liaison. I think
Sure.
her name is Christina, yes, that's it.
I bet Christina could tackle that. She's very driven,
Yeah, so
but I'm willing to help however she needs me.
But also, Keith, if you happen to know someone from Bucksport who would like to take your place, please let us know, because it is really important that we have a community voice on that curriculum committee as well. When that committee was originated, it was created because the community felt as though the school district, not the RSU, this was back in the Bucksport School District. The school district had separated themselves from the public. They really wanted to make sure that there was someone who was detached from the school district to be on that front. So if you happen to know somebody, both for and everyone else, if you happen to know someone from your community, please bring them forward. Any other? ones, or we got a pretty good.
I think you're pretty well set. Yeah, you're in pretty good shape.
All right. Thank you very much for your volunteering and willingness to work on the committees.
Where do the curriculum folks meet?
They meet at the central office.
So I'll be-
You'll be right there. Typically, they capture the conference room, which forces the facility committee to go downstairs in the basement. But
I just come up here.
yeah.
Because when they don't, Dan, I usually run in during the end of their meeting,
Yeah.
Yeah. Disrupted everything.
thinking I'm late for my meeting.
No, it's worked out, us going downstairs in the break room works fine.
Yeah, fine.
All right, then the next item to discuss is regarding emergency plan.
Yes, I asked if we put this on for discussion and possible action. We have, you remember back in November, there were a number of calls that were made to high schools throughout the state of Maine. I believe there were 10 of them. And claiming that there was an active shooter going on. And actually the calls went to police dispatch and didn't go to the schools, but of course that would trigger a response. Well, every one of these calls was false. But what it did do, it made these districts go into their active crisis management plans. Some of them found out and figured out that these were crank calls beforehand, so they didn't go fully involved, but there were a number of them that did. So that brought about the opportunity to really have conversations about, okay, what did we learn from this experience? What did you learn from this experience? So we debriefed with 4 high school superintendents did. And their superintendents met with us and went right down through and we talked about, how did your plan work? What went well? What didn't go well? All of them had things that went very well. All of them had things that they said, wow, we never really tested it to this limit. This was a challenge for us. And we know having the best laid plan is wonderful. That's just a place to start. When a crisis truly happens, you're going to have to respond to what happens at the moment. Chief Gagan on his side debriefed with law enforcement from all across the state of Maine and DOE's emergency planning group. And he and I got back together exchanged notes, took a look at our plans. And one of the things that we saw was we have not done practicing of our reunification. Okay, and what I mean by reunification is if we have to leave a building because of a bomb threat, because of whatever, and we take the kids to another building, we've got to get them reunified with either getting on buses or getting back to their families. And there's a whole process there, of laying things out. Some of the learnings that they had from that, and they realized that once the police were on site, they took over the whole site. Superintendent one town couldn't even get into the parking lot. He was kept out, so he had to go to the command and control center, which was offsite in a totally different area. And that was something they weren't prepared for. Another superintendent found that their command and control site, once they finished up, the computer that was being used to tap into the video systems of the schools was going to be kept by the police department for evidence. And they weren't prepared for that either. So they actually took the computer of the tech director. And so it's like, oh, there's new learnings. And there are a number of these things that came up. Staff were a little bit upset when they were told, no, you can't get in your car and drive to the rallying point of the other place we're getting together. You're either walking or you're getting on the bus being taken there, because once the police take the scene over, you can't move any vehicles or anything. So, and that means your personal items and everything. So that is something we have not practiced. And Chief Gagan has asked if we could put together a practice. We've talked about it. We've actually began conversations with Hancock County Emergency Management to help design and kind of do the overview of it. But because we don't have time, we have contractual obligations with teacher, if you would be willing to entertain to allow us to take the Thursday off before our March and service day and take it as a half day. So we'd have the kids at school for a half day, begin dismissal at 11:30 at the high school, be done by noon, and then have all the ed techs, all the custodians, all the teachers, all the administrative supports all together, and actually go through a live drill right here on campus. And that drill would include all the public safety. And be able to test what we've drawn up to see if it's going to be feasible, and be able to take it through and to educate our staff as to what to expect, because they have key responsibilities in terms of making sure we have accountability for all those students. It will not include students. This part does not need to include students, but will certainly include transportation and all other aspects of the organization.
This counts as a student day.
Counts as a
for
student day.
graduation
Yep,
purposes, so we don't have to go into summer.
counts as a student day. And I backed it up against the professional development. And I don't want to interfere with that because we already have plans for that. And so this puts it right up. Kids are already gonna have that Friday off, so it gives them, they're out at noon time on that day. Teachers by contract will be with us till 3 o'clock. So if you'd be willing to consider adjustments to the calendar.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, we need a motion for that, because that would be
Okay. Well, I move that we adjust our school calendar on March 16th to be an early dismissal day at 11:30, starting at 11:30. Guys.
We have a motion and second. All those in
Oh,
favor?
no, roll call.
Back to full.
All those in favor.
I was
raise your
doing
hand.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Jim, take it away.
I just want to verify that I gave you the right date, and it's March 16th.
You did, I checked it.
Thank you.
That is my birthday too, so thank you for preparedness on my birthday. like it.
Same as the next day, 17th. Yeah. So, Mr. Foster,
I approve.
Mr. Burgess,
I approve.
Ms. Foster,
I approve.
Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Nealon,
I approve.
Mr. Wentworth,
Yes.
and Mr. Cobb.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and we will get information out to all families, and we'll do that multiple times, so they're prepared for that, and I'll let Chief Gagan know that we can go ahead with planning.
I think it would be wise for us to plan something like this twice a year.
We need to do more of it, again, like everything else, COVID disrupted all of our plans, but the schools do a minimum of 2 drills for this specifically, which we call a lock-in, lockdown type of drill, so they practice that as well, at minimum of twice a year, on top of the fire drills, which, so,
But this one is a special additional one to incorporate the new learners.
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and then if this all goes well, I will bring that information to you with revision to the crisis management plan, so you'll have a chance to look at everything and go from there, have discussions around that. Thank you very much.
Next, we have discussion and establishment of dates for budget workshop.
So our business manager sitting behind me. Yes. Come on up. Good. So as we get ready to start the budget process, which we've obviously started at our level, but to get it to the board, we put together a series of budget workshops where we want to be able to give you the whole budget, give you a chance to look at the whole thing, and then we break down by cost center. Now, before we start scheduling this is not a typical year. You've heard me talk about Katie's efforts with the financial software changeover and building the budget. So I'm being very sensitive and empathetic to her needs. 2 things I learned at my recent training. I don't know why they targeted me for that, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay, so moving right along. Katie, thoughts about when you think we would be able to pull together a first draft? Not putting you on the spot.
Well, first we need to have the meeting with the administrators.
Oh, I know that. Yeah,
So,
that's coming up.
so as soon as we get those in, I think we can pull together a first draft relatively quickly after that.
So if we did something the week of February 13th, like that be reasonable?
I think that's reasonable. If we're doing, if we, yeah.
Anybody doing anything with Valentine's Day?
I would say anything that week.
Okay.
It's fine, as long as we have the administrative meetings in without any major issues.
So you want to look at possibly the Wednesday or the Thursday?
For this,
Probably
we're
the
talking
Wednesday.
15.
Yeah.
Okay, the only thing, yeah, okay, there's a unified basketball game, but that wouldn't affect any of us. Okay.
So
Well, curriculum's on the 16th, so we should really shoot for the 15th.
that's what I'm thinking. I think that'd be a good idea.
That's perfectly fine, that works for me.
Okay,
Where and when?
so typically we do it right here at 6 o'clock. And it is a workshop. There's not going to be any actions taken, but we will put out an agenda. And it is open to the public. We do allow for public comment either before or at the end of our conversations, but it's truly a workshop for you as a board to go through and review the cost centers. So, okay, so we'll start with that as the first date.
Said 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
6 p.m. And then at that meeting, that's when we'll set the next one. Good. All right, Katie, sorry about switching the spot.
Yeah, that's good, no,
It started, it was actually a lot of it, just learning about,
We have no reading of policies. And I do apologize. After looking at the agenda here, I neglected to put anything in for administrative reports.
So will you slide that in
So
right
we
here?
can slide that in now, if that is at the pleasure of the board, okay? Start. We got Josh. Josh, want to go up?
So yeah, my report, sorry that I'm so late. Scott did forgive me as I walked in, so I feel better about that. So big thing for us is midterms week, and Mr. Booth's 2-hour delay through an initial wrinkle into our midterm exam schedule today, but we've made some adjustments and we're gonna kind of be wintering into next week. So with some shifting around, but you know, the nice thing is last year we kind of got back into doing midterms after taking a 2-year hiatus from that, just with COVID. And you know, it's always kind of a stressful time wrapping up the first semester, trying to get grades in at the end of the quarter. But you know, I think kids are ready. And again, kind of year 2, we're already seeing that response back into this kind of normal routine. Obviously, it's the first time for freshmen for taking a more high stakes exam. We are sticking with what we did last year. We're only giving midterm exams in our core content areas. So our unified arts classes are not doing exams. They just shows that they'd rather continue working on their curriculum, their regular curriculum, as opposed to doing full-blown exam in an art class that may not make as much sense where it does in a math or English class. So then we'll start a second semester courses next week. And then for me in guidance, we're kind of doing the tour. We go around and start recruiting. It's really amazing right now. We're recruiting and building schedules for next year. And we'll be doing course registrations in the month of March. And then pretty soon I'll be bringing graduation reports to you. And it's just kind of really amazing how fast this year flies by. But that's really kind of where we're at. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for John? Thank you very much, Josh. Todd, you want to go next?
Good evening, everyone. I've got a copy of my report, and much like Mr. Tripp, I just wanted to kind of direct folks to the end of the report and the calendar of events, mostly highlighting just kind of, it's that time of year where everything is so busy. There's so many great opportunities going on for students that, you know, there's our traditional athletic opportunities. There's new athletic opportunities like the volleyball program that's starting up, has its first practice coming up here pretty soon. And then, you know, music program is going strong, drama is starting off, lots of different co-curricular teams and activities, robotics. Just got an update in the middle of the meeting. Our chess team had an upset of Caravel, so they're looking to have a very strong showing at the PBML chess tournament that's coming up soon. So just a, you know, a really nice range of activities for kids to be involved in. And one of those that happens during school is the spelling bee, kind of a little bit old fashioned, but it's also really exciting to see so many kids really excited about spelling. The last couple of years, we've had like endless championship where like the spellers at the end kind of keep pushing each other because they're getting these pretty challenging and complex words correct. And so it's been neat to watch students really engage in academic competition the same way that they engage in other competitions. So that's been nice. So Lily Orchid was our winner of the spelling bee with Hannah Mitchell in second place, and they'll be moving on to Hancock County Spelling Bee. So that's all very exciting. And we did that, like I said, last year we had it represented at the state spelling bee, and we can make it 2 years in a row. So exciting stuff. If anyone has any questions about anything else in the report or anything that they wanted to ask further about, I'd be happy to discuss.
Any questions for Todd? Thank you very much.
You have volunteer opportunities for board members to chaperone the Valentine Days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I thought that was part of like the new board member.
Slash Hazen.
Or we want them to stay.
Well, we don't do hazing, but we want to provide those opportunities.
They're not as bad as we can make them seem.
No, they're fine. They're appropriate for middle school. I think everybody should chaperone at least one middle school dance.
I've done that.
Or even wait till your children get to that age and then really embarrass them.
Yeah. Oh, that's my point. Oh, yeah. There's nothing better than that.
I have daughters, so I gotta pull the embarrassment.
Yeah, there you go.
Darcy, do you want to go next?
Hello, everybody. My report's also in the drive. I'm just gonna point out a couple highlights. We've really brought the PBIS to the forefront. I feel like it's been on the back burner for a while, but now that we're out of the pandemic, we have really been focusing on that. We now have a PBIS team, which is brand new. So we'll start meeting soon. And one of our focuses has been to bring strategies and ideas to the staff meetings each month. The second thing that I wanted to focus on is the Children's Fair. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it kind of went by the wayside in 2020. It was all planned and then COVID hit. We're bringing that back for April 8th will be the Children's Fair. So we have a committee working on planning that. And one final thing, at the end of the day, I had mentioned earlier this year, an enrichment program that is up and going pretty strong. And we've also started working with the high school a little bit on getting some students to come down and help with the music, art, in the library. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions, Darcy? Thank you very much, Darcy. Let's see. We don't have Christine here. Andrea, do you want to go ahead?
You have my report, and basically we're still getting ready for our alternative assessment. We are also sitting there working with teachers and looking at resource room, trying to construct an effective budget and review materials. We're going to send Tara Woods for training for younger, smaller children for the safety care strategies, because they're little bodies, plus certainly there's different interventions that are more age appropriate at that. So we thought that that just came about and they just started that training this year. And so that we have a number of students that would definitely benefit from that. And also the Drummond Woodson, we're starting some PLCs to really focus on some of the takeaways that Tara and I got from Drummond Woodson in December and bringing it back to our staff. So, yeah, questions on special education? Give us a call or ask us. Yeah.
Thank you. Kathy.
Apologies for the late report. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read it, so I think I can sum it up in a couple of sentences. We have a full clinical medical assisting course, 9 people here at our site, and the remaining 12 split between RSU 24 and Washington County. We spent most of the month assessing and enrolling them. We have coming up next, January 31st, is our new CAD program. And we have students enrolled at every single site. I don't have a final count yet because we still have 2 weeks to enroll. We'll also be doing a computer support specialist again, but that'll be starting a little bit later. And we have 4 students ready to HiSET test. We have a bigger HiSET diploma class than we've had in quite a few years, but we just have 4 ready right now. And we're excited. We have a volunteer to test this new system. He's more excited than I am, I think. Any questions?
Thank you. Then we have Jen Tier.
Kind of like a broken record. I always come up and say, we have some field trips, we have some guest speakers. That's all still happening. And we're looking to piggyback on already existing activities as a way to build that sustainability piece. And so we did take part in the computer science night that was here, and we are looking to participate in the early childhood fair this spring. Excited to do that. I don't give you updates in your board report, but I do an update once a month for our funders. If any of you are interested in getting that full detailed update, just let me know and I can add you to the email list. As well as newsletter will come out next week. And right now we're just looking at what we spent so far and how it aligns with our goals and what we're gonna be doing for the spring spending to make sure we spend as much, if not all, of the available Aspire funds before the end of this school year. And doing some mini PD. So we did a small staff contest in December, a little an incentive, but to help teachers know what resources we have available. And we're doing a similar thing next week in January. We're bringing back soup day. So this is the most popular thing we did last year for teachers. We have 2 local soups, one from the Crumpet and one from Moments in Orland. And with that, we'll be encouraging teachers to use our resources and make sure they're spending their Aspire funds. And we're planning for our field trips for the spring and helping promote opportunities for internships. Like that. Yeah.
So last Friday, I had an opportunity at my work. The Educate Maine group came through.
Yeah.
And I was one of the tour guides for that. And so we were getting to meet everybody, and I was talking to my group, and I said, and I'm also a school board member in RSU 25, and one of the first things I said was Aspire Golden Bucks. So the word's out there. It was nice to hear that other educators around the state are in tune with what we're doing here. It's kind of nice to hear.
Yes, thank you. Any questions?
And last but not least is Jim Morrow.
Good evening. I did not give you a board report, although Mr. Boothby and I communicated about redoing that. Probably starting next month, so you folks are up to snuff on what's going on. Big topic I'll bring up this month is that yesterday we had our mobile science labs almost fully deployed into the schools. And Mrs. Braley will be working with staff on using those in the classroom. So we've received them, inventoried them, processed the paperwork. Now they're physically within the buildings, which means next month I will ask if Allison can join us for a quick demo, sub 5 minutes, so you folks can see and tangibly get your hands on some of those products, so you have a better understanding of what's going on. We do have 3 persons enrolled in what's called the Tier 2, which is the Computer Science Integrator Educator, which is where folks will go and learn how to integrate these into all subjects at different grade levels. Ideally, this would be a K-12 solution. So Mrs. Braley, Mrs. Kester out of the Jewett School, and Mr. Sipe out of Miles Lane will be attending. And they'll come back and do some trainings. The first round of professional development staff, K-8, has already occurred. So very excited to get those in the classrooms. Very excited that we didn't have to mark every Lego, although we still did a whole lot of inventory in addition. So Mr. Boothby's happy. He doesn't have to throw notes through my door to get stuff to me. He can walk in now. So that's good. So other than the fact that we'll get more hands-on next month, as long as Mrs. Braley is available, any questions for me, other topics? The world's a busy tech place, that's for sure.
How's cybersecurity doing, Jim?
Cybersecurity is a big mud puddle right now. Everybody's in it getting wet. The good thing is that we are getting wet. No one's trying to stay dry. There is no solution to that mud puddle was the issue. There are multiple facets. There are pieces. We have people coming out of the woodwork to give us solutions, and they range everywhere from unplug your computer to pay us $10,000 per person. We guarantee nothing ever happens. So we're trying to figure out where that fits for us. I did recently discover that our partnership with the CISA and MSI-SAC, which is the big federal agency that gives us information, may have some purchasing power. So I'm exploring that, not just for us, but statewide is my assignment to the Meta board. Yeah, so it's definitely still a mess. The number of schools being attacked, it was 2 in Massachusetts last month. And so we stay in an aware and knowledgeable position. Not impervious by any means, but trying to do our best. The conversation now is, I know some districts are looking to hire not a cybersecurity, but a technology security person. So network training, servers, everything. Those positions for someone certified would be about $125,000 plus benefits, I would presume, in the state of Maine, because those positions are few, far between, and a lot more anywhere. So we're hoping that that's not the method that is expected at the state level. We hope there's some recognition in the EPS to fund partnerships, because I think the fact that every school district having a cybersecurity specialist when they don't even have IT managers in some districts is a little bit of overkill. Some bigger districts may combine it with the municipalities, think Scarborough, Portland, Bangor, something like that. But here I would certainly encourage and look for a partnership, not just in our zone, which is the first step. Let's say Hancock County, maybe Southern Penobscot, but overall in the state, I would love to be part of a solution.
Do you have any high school students interested in this field?
I'm sure we do, because we have some enrolled at cybersecurity or
Would
HCTC.
it be possible to get them exposed to this?
At this moment, no, in the future, absolutely. What the downside, so the downside of cybersecurity, and I know this from taking forensics courses, is that you have to know how to break it in order to protect it. So we are not at a point where I'd want to have students knowledgeable of what holes we do have, but at some point that will drive us. I will tell you that our new format for our wireless system, which is pending launch because of complexity behind it, is because of the cybersecurity program in HCTC. Because our open network here has been pretty much unaffected for a decade. That is not the proper way to run. That's why we're going to change it. That password will be sent to devices based on login rather than people being able to have it. So if you folks log in on your laptop in the near future, your laptop is a device we recognize, it'll be permissive on the network. You'd have no idea how to connect it if it didn't work. Very good question.
So the first step of cybersecurity obviously is going to be informational security and the people who are handling information, using the technology, knowing how to protect themselves
There you go.
by not sharing information with untrustworthy sources. Have we done any kind of like informational security training for these kids so that they know how to recognize a fish, so they know how to?
That is part
catch
of,
these sorts of things?
sorry to cut you off, but that is part of our digital citizenship. We've had a version of it for probably 6 or 8 years preceding me, but now it's actually in our curriculum. So if you look at K-4 is probably our weakest point, but as they get more exposed, 5 to 8, it's literally in their class that they're required to take through computer science. Part of that's digital literacy. It's also in their health program, their guidance program. We come up to the high school, it's in their computer science class. It's also in their health program here. You're right, that's absolutely it. We battle it all the time. A lot of our alerts, Mr. Tripp and I talk about, aren't a security alert for us, aren't a suicide alert, it's poor behavior of students. And so we try to educate them. Unfortunately, what we end up with is a lot of people say, oh, I didn't know I was doing that on my student account. No, the point is, we really shouldn't do that at all. It's for your safety. It's not because we think it's bad. That's a lot like other things. You know, they speed them in the parking lot because they lose their driving privileges, what they do on 15. Different situation. We just educate and try to do our best. But yes, we do have a system in place and modifying and developing.
Good, thank you. Now we can go to calendar and announcements.
Yes, we've got curriculum committee, February 16th. Policy committee, Monday, February 13th, and we do have a couple of policies to discuss, so we'll be definitely meeting. Facilities committee, because how February worked out with multiple Thursdays, we moved that to the 9th, so we get to go up in the big kids room on February 9th. And then Aspire committee will meet right after or right before curriculum, however they work that out on the 16th. Now, board meeting, because of the February vacation, we go to the 4th Tuesday, which would be February 28th for school board and finance. Okay.
And we got a budget workshop.
And a budget workshop, which we just built in there, and that will be on Wednesday, the 15th. 6.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And also, it'll be the same thing in April too, right, for the board meeting? Correct. So if people are planning, falls during that vacation, it'll be the week after.
And so that brings us to an executive session.
We'll have no business other than adjournment.
After that.
So Mr. Morrow is going to terminate the broadcast. Abby, I believe you're going to still be allowed to be part of that. So obviously that's important.
Here's hoping.
We'll leave it up to technology to figure it out.
See you next week. See you next month.